Welcome to the Middleware Tech YouTube channel. In this series, you'll learn about Simple Hibernate Program using XML code. Examples used in the videos will be available on GitHub. Let's get started.
Using XML first. Our purpose is how we can use Hibernate to save an object. Object means Java object. Save an Java object state side database. This is the things. We'll try to understand simple program how we can use Hibernate API to save an Java object state in the database. Then we'll get lots of things from here, and then we'll move next step. So this is the requirement. We'll try to understand first. Fine. Okay. So let's see. Now on the other side, let's see in the what is there in the slides. I'm going download Hibernate. You need to download, right? So there's two approaches there. One is Maven approach. First, I'll go for a simple jar approach. Later, one approach. So first, I have to download all the Hibernate 5 jars. I have to download these jars. So these jars already I have downloaded. If you download, it will come like this. You download like this. It's freely downloadable. You can download all the jars, right? So if you download all the jars, load it in the system. Fine. And you're going to use one IDE, the Eclipse IDE. So you can use IDE that is used for enterprise level application. So here I'm using the Eclipse IDE version, this one. And the third point is that enterprise edition, express edition. So we can Oracle 11G express edition. We can use this Oracle 11G express edition database, right? Right, to implement, right? Okay. These are the things, because what I'm doing is that using Hibernate, I'm going to save the state of a particular object in the database, right? So this is a free version database we can use in this current lab. This is also you can download freely, right? This is a lab setup. Now, so since you're doing the Hibernate first program, right? So what I can see here is that, so first we have to do create Java project. I'm just writing the steps. First, I'm going to create a simple code Java project. Fine. Then number 2, I have to create a simple Java class. Create Java class. So assume class name is take employee or department, right? And fine. Then number step 3. Java, right? Then create table, database, right? Next, we need two files. One is called, another is called file. One is called mapping file. Create mapping file. File it can object to table mapping. Object, Java object, relation mapping. That is a mapping file. And another file we need configuration file. Create configuration, and this configuration file talked about configuration file. What it contain actually, database connection details. DB. Lots of things is there. Plus, first we'll put connection related details, and then we'll add lots of things to format and SQL one by one. So this is how we can differentiate mapping file and the configuration file. Okay. Then we'll create one client.java. .java, I wanted to save the object state in the database. Or okay, now here these are the steps implement in a simple Hibernate program, right? So let's do one by one to implement a simple Hibernate program. Using XML implementation, let's understand it first very well, because we should know both XML as well as so today if you are working on a particular project, you'll if the project is created now, then you'll find the project is always use annotation. But if you're interacting with some legacy project that already done 5 years back, then you'll find XML. You know both the implementation, XML annotation both. So now I'm doing it XML after with the annotation. So let's create a Java bench. So workspace Hibernate 3. So this is space, and to first simple Java project. So we'll create a simple Java project. File, new, others, Java project. Next. So right here. Heavy demo 1. Hibernate demo 1. Okay, move next, next, and finished. So right, so just check that since you are using Hibernate 5.x version, right? So you have to check that the JD should be Java.8. Number 4, JDK Java 8. Java project creation completed. Now I should create a simple Java class. Next step, employee. So create a class, right click, Java class, and take it inside a employee. Right, okay. So it's a class, the bean class. So that bean class property, right? Private int private string emp name private string emp email, right? And private that's a 3 instance variable I have taken inside this class, right? So it's a bean class. So I that some click shorts generate getters and setters install and right click source vectorizing fields. It should have a default constructor. Okay, it's a simple bean class. The private we have getters and setters inside a class. So simple bean class employee, fine. That's it, right? So that is our class we have created. Next, we have to create a table in the database. So next, we have to create a table in the database. Since you are doing it first time, actually, Hibernate API provides some function using that we can implement. Hibernate API can create the table. Since I'm doing first time, so only on the database backend. So next step is step 3. Create the table on the database. Fine. So employee table EMP, but the class employee table name is EMP in the database, right? Okay. Then I have to create a map. I have to create a mapping and then configuration file. So mapping file is going to provide the mapping between object and the table, Java and the table. So first let's create the mapping file. It's an XML file. Answers. And here we use XML, right? So go to XML file. And here XML name. So the XML name we can use emp.hb.xml. So generally we use this name like this. emp.hbm.xml and move next, and finished. Simple XML file, right? Now this XML is a mapping file. Mapping file. This file I want to do XML Java root. So it's an XML file, right? So application. If I'm writing an XML document, in application, if I'm writing an XML document, grammar. So we should add for this XML document, right? So how to write that grammar, right? So never write the grammar manually because grammar means the corresponding grammar is provided by the APIs. Whatever XML you are going to use for which purpose, the corresponding API will come somewhere, but we have to search where is that grammar inside the API. So here we have not added the Hibernate jar, right? Hibernate jar. So right click project, Java libraries, add. So all those Java APIs, okay, actually I have not added this. Add all the Hibernate jar. Here you have to add another steps, right? Before add all the Hibernate jar. right? File should come 6, 7. So you have to add all the Hibernate jars. So add jars already. This Hibernate jar, where it is Hibernate. Now we have to. Now I told you that if I need the grammar for an XML file, so that grammar is available in your APIs. First, you have to know how to search it. If you're working on JS, any the corresponding grammar for your XML configuration file or XML mapping file, it is available for that particular application. So here grammar is 5. What I'm going to use will go inside the just now the jars I have added a jar. It's .NET Core 5.2.0 final. To go inside this jar and package org.hibernate. If you go inside org.hibernate package, and if you go down, you'll find 3.0 DTT file, configuration file, right? So that Hibernate mapping 3.0 mapping. It's in the name mapping. And open this file, and you'll find here line number 10, 11, 12. It is the grammar. So this you should add. Copy it to check that should not change. Don't do any customization. Don't write it manually also. Try to use always copy paste. Small mistake, it may not work. Copy and paste it in the top. That's it. You copy it from the API itself, right? Okay. So this is about my mapping file. Now what you should write the mapping here is that. So it seems in an XML. So already you know that for an XML we have a root element, right? Starting element and closing element. So Hibernate mapping is a root element for your map file, right? Now here I have to do the mapping between the class and the table. So if one called class and class name equal to, you'll get all the attributes by default. Class it is not coming. Name equal to pp dot employee. So you can see here employee table equal to emp. That's it. So what I'm doing here between class and table, class employee. Yes, it is in the pp package. I'm going to map with the table called employee in the database. That's it. Okay. Now what I told ORM should map with that, and instance variable name should be the column name. Okay. So instance variable name will come with an attribute called property. Yes. First property name equal to emp id. Property name emp id. That should column name. Column equal to column. Database also just see here. Yes, same column in the database also emp id, emp name, emp email. That's it. And already you've created it, right? Okay, that's it. Same things we have to do it for control C. Other two properties. Control V, control V. Second one is emp name. And the third one is emp email. So you can provide the data types. You can provide the data types using type equal to type equal to map equal to string. That so same thing we have used here according to your, if you're writing a particular thing, so you have to remember that one of the column you must have to primary key. One of the column we have to make it as a primary. So how to identify a particular element as a primary key? That identify with the particular element called ID. So ID is an attribute. If I'm using a particular ID, it is a primary key in the table. I can define it ID. ID, right? Now here, now the thing is that the primary key, we have different scenario. The primary key I can only, or I can primary key generated by the database, right? And there is also different types of operation, all right? So there is 7 approach is there. How Hibernate generate primary key. 7 approaches there. If I write 7 approach means 7 class. I have written here generator class. Generator class means there is a name. Total 7 classes there. Which class, different class is used for different requirement to generate the primary key for, right? Now, if I use, now one of the things that I'm going to use here that is called assigned. Assigned means what user is going to give an ID that will be accepted by the Hibernate API to generate as a primary key. That is assigned. Assigned is one of the attribute, one of the generator class that we can use to generate primary key in Hibernate. Except that we have another 6 primary key generator classes there. I'll talk about all the 6 primary key generator class. If you want to see now, I'll just want to show you, right? Okay. So if you see here, this is the mapping class, and in this mapping class, we have done here. This class is to do the mapping between object, class name, and class instance variable name with the table column. That what I'm mapping we have provided inside this mapping file. That's it. Right? Okay. Now here, this is our file. Next, what are the next step? Let's see here. Next step is we have to create a configuration file. Configuration file contains some data. To create one configuration file, select src folder, right click, new, others, XML, and the corresponding file name is hibernate.cfg.xml. So this is the configuration file. Now let's see if I'm going to save this configuration file. Next, finished. So if I'm going to write an XML file, as I told you that we should have a grammar. We should have a grammar. So what is the grammar inside this file? That also you can get it from the API documentation. You go to the API, Hibernate core, warg.hibernate, and here you'll find configuration, Hibernate configuration 3.0 DTD. And here you can copy these 3 lines, 10, line number 10, 11, and right. Okay, so let's copy these 3 lines, Control C and paste. That's it, right? Save it. So the grammar is done. Now this is a configuration file, so it has a root element. Now this Hibernate configuration also lots of properties. Okay, so Hibernate configuration, inside Hibernate configuration we should use another property called Spring Session Factory. I'll talk about them. So inside that session factory you have to mention all the properties one by one. So main thing is that very say that some database connection related details we should provide, right? So how are you going to provide the connection related details with the help of a particular element called property? Right? So each and every property name, there is a name that you have to use. You cannot write your own name, like Hibernate.dialect. Hibernate.dialect. There's an inbuilt name. The spelling is correct, right? Dialect. Yeah. So what is this dialect? This dialect is it's one type of we can say one type of interpreter. As we know that two different language person use one interpreter just to understand, right? The other. So that same concept is interpreter. Interpreter means that from Hibernate, if I'm going to database, I need one Oracle dialect. If I'm going to connect with MySQL database, I need MySQL dialect. If I'm going to connect with DB2 database, I need DB2 dialect. So it is used to understand the Hibernate input, right? Dialect. Using Oracle LVNG data Express Edition. So for Oracle Hibernate providing one dialect, it is warg dot dialect and Oracle dialect. So this is inbuilt, right? And you should remember small mistakes, small letter, capital letter, it will not work. Oracle capital, D is capital, right? Okay. Next, we're going to use another property. Is class name I'm going to use dot connection driver dot class, right? Okay. And the name of the class name already you know, Oracle dot jdbc dot driver dot Oracle, right? So this property, I think this is underscore, right? Okay. Now next property, like property name, right? Property name equal hyphen dot connection dot URL and the value like already you know, right? JDBC URL, JDBC colon Oracle colon thin colon localhost colon 1521 colon DSNM. This is the default URL, right? Generally we use for Oracle Image that I have used here, right? Next, I want to use another property. Property name equal to password, username password I have to use, right? So Hibernate and dot connection dot some properties there, username. They're inbuilt defined, so you cannot make it small letter, capital letter. So this is predefined. Hibernate dot connection dot username. I'm using system here, right? System. That we can another property. There you can use another property. Its name is control V. Is and password here I'm using Oracle. Right. So these are the things, right? And right. Okay. So these are called, configuration parameters. We need these parameters to connect with the database with the help of the dialect. Already you know, right? Right. Now we have to remember that the Hibernate configuration file will put as this mapping file with the help of a particular element called mapping resource. Mapping resource equal to that mapping file that I have created, right? em.hbm.xml. This mapping file it will take as that's it, right? hbm.xml. Okay. So we have closed the session factory, and that's it. This is our simple configuration file. I have not used some other properties. We'll use it one by one, right? Configuration file is done. So this is our step number 6. And the last step is that we have to create one client, and using this client, I have to save an Hibernate inside database. Save one Hibernate database, right? So create one client. Last step, I have to create one client.java. So select pp package, right? Client. Now we'll talk about lots of things in the client that we have not yet talked one by one. So here I'm giving some. Now what I'm going to do here is that what I'm doing in this program, the purpose of this program is to save an object state in the database. Correct. So when I'm going to save an object state in the database, then how I'll save it? I have to use some Hibernate APIs. Hibernate APIs are defined inside your 5.x jar that I have added, right? So I have to use some of the Hibernate API, and using those Hibernate API, I have Java object inside a database. So what are those APIs that we have to remember one by one? First one is called configuration. Configuration CFG equal to new configuration. Okay. Now this configuration, if you see where it is defined, if you just move the cursor, configuration, it is available inside hibernate.cfg package. Don't use any other package. Try to use warg.hibernate.cfg. Timing. Fine. Okay. Now what I'm going to do, first I have to load the configuration file. Because if you see here, configuration file is calling the mapping file. So I don't have to load the mapping file. Who is going to load the mapping file? Configuration file. So I am going to load the configuration file is creating an object of configuration. So cfg dot configure document. What is the name of the document? Is hibernate.cfg.xml. So what I'm doing in this line, I have loaded configuration file. Fine. Next, I have to create a session factory. Now, what is session factory? Session factory I have to create to save an object state in the database. So, session factory. Purpose of this session factory, I'll come one by one. SF equal to cfg dot build session factory. And import. Yeah. So if I'm creating a session factory object I have to create from this configuration object. It has another name called second level cache. I'll talk about this second level cache concept when I talk about cache. But the session factory object we have to create first. Then from the session factory object, I have to create an object of session. Session equal to sf dot session. Now the session, this has another name called first level cache. So the session object we have to create, then session dot close also. So we have to create the session object to insert and Java object from Java to database. So I need the session object to create. Session object I can create from the session factory object. So this configuration, session factory, session, these are part of Hibernate API. If you see here, available under org.hibernate package. So I'm using them to insert and Java object state in the database. Object, so let's employee, right? Employee E equal to new employee. So E dot set emp id, assume my emp id 3, E dot set emp name, assume emp name is Navin, and E dot set emp email, assume its name is navin@.com. That's it. This is my object, right? Create the object. Then I have initialized the object. Now I want to save that object state in the database. How? That I can save with the help of this Hibernate session object. So what I have to do here, I have to use session.save method. The save method is provided by Hibernate. If I use save E, then the object, this is an object, simple, that then we say that the object came under Hibernate. When I write session.save E, the object came under Hibernate context. That means this is a simple Java object that we create. The moment I'm writing save E, its meaning is that the object came under Hibernate context. This object has a different name. I'll come one by one. Right? So is it inserted in the database? No, not yet. If I want to insert the object state in the database, then I have to do another one task. I have to use transaction. Already you know, right? Transaction means unit of work. Transaction means unit of work, right? What are the operations I have to put? If I have 10 operation, if I put inside transaction, then either all the operations will be successful or none of them will be successful. That is unit of work. Using transaction, we define unit of work, right? So if I want to save it in the database, to define transaction, this operations inside transaction. So I'm writing here transaction txn equal to session dot begin transaction. I have to start one transaction here and sorry, this transaction is available from Hibernate API itself. So transaction, if you watch.hibernate transaction, right? So if I starting on transaction, then you should close it. Txn dot close or commit. Commit. So when you write session dot save, object came under Hibernate context. Means it came under Hibernate API or Hibernate context. But the object not yet got into the database. When you implement transaction.commit, then the object state update in the database, and you can see the value that you have inserted from Hibernate that is available inside a table. Okay, so what we have written here is that Hibernate API steps. What is the purpose? I'm going to save an object using Hibernate API in the database, right? Whether this object is going in the database or not, right? So what is the current state in the database? We are using EMP table, right? So select star from EMP. Nothing is there blank because EMP table is connected with the employee Java, right? Okay. Now I have to insert the value. So right click, run as, right click, run as Java. Right? So it is saying that database driver is not there, right? So driver we have to add it. Installed Oracle 11g Express Edition and the driver in the C drive. Select your project, right click, properties, add external jar. Let's run once again. Java application. Right? Why this came? Because here you have Hibernate HQL show SQL equal to true. Not providing this show SQL, right? Control X, save it. Then number 4, it will not SQL, not showing you the SQL. See SQL. But if you're providing this, means Hibernate is going to save the data value in the database, right? So SQL generate the SQL in the console. It's going to save the state of an employee in the database. Right click, run as Java application. You can see SQL came, right? So the value should be available in the database, right? So let me check value is there in the database or not. Connect system Oracle. Now select a star from EMP. So different query insert 3 times, right? Database from, right? So we find that Hibernate using Hibernate instead of a particular object, right? And it is done. See now lots of between that. Sometimes it is an API related, sometimes it is related to database. Okay, so it is working fine, right? Right, and so that means this is working fine. The simple Hibernate program using XML. This is working fine, correct? Right? Okay. So anyone question? Done. Yes, please. Anyone have any question? Next is that see just now Hibernate program there one by one. Now we have done that is the basics one. Based on how API listed in the database. Now, one of the steps we have done called create table in the database. So these steps, just see this one. These steps we should not do it. Why? Because I don't have to manually create table in the database. Why? Because Hibernate will can create the table based on the mapping file. Again, I'm saying create. This is we have manually in the database. These steps we don't need because Hibernate API will create the table manually. So we'll use that one. So how API can create the table manually? So just see here, we have one of the property. Its name is just now I have written here. Its name is this. Control C. Yeah, this is the property that we have to use. Its name is hibernate.hbm2.auto. As the name is saying, DDL, data definition language, it is used to create all the database object. So if I use this property, as create drop, create database, drop it. So I don't have to create it. A Hibernate API will create if I use this property. So just see here, I'm using this property and paste this property here. I'll Control V. Now Hibernate API will create the table based on file. So based on the mapping file. Now come to the mapping file. What I want the table name be 1, 2. This is my table 2, 3, 4. Right? So 3, 4 table I want to create in the database, and it has a column name EMP 1, EMP name 2, and EMP email 3. Just an example how to do it. See that it is working or not. That's why just I'm doing this. So what I want is that I want Hibernate API to create the table in the backend. So backend table name should be EMP 1, 2, 3, 4, and column name should be EMP ID1, EMP ID emp name 2 and emp email 3. Let me check it is Hibernate API is doing that or not. Go to the client, right click, run as Java application. So you can see here some okay, table and view does not exist. It will come, not come. It will come because first time it is checking whether emp is there on the address or not. So what you have to do here is second time it will not come. Save it. Right click, run as our application. So if you see this, that now see here, who have created this table? Hibernate API. Now this statement was not there earlier. Now it is there. So Hibernate API is creating the table and then it is inserting the value inside the table. Table name is emp1234 and these are the column. Right? Right? And if you see here, Hibernate API is creating the table. Fine. Hibernate API is, let me check it is creating or not. Let me check in the database. It's created or not. DSC EMP1234. Yes, it's created. It is created. Right. Now here, lots of things to remember. Now, if I go for the second approach, it is much more effective. Now, when you have an application of 40 columns, so best is this. You get the mapping file. You want Hibernate API to create the tables on the back end. Right. Now here we should remember some of the characteristics like if you see this mapping, here I have 3 columns. Using IID, I have EMP-ID1 as a primary key, and it's an integer type. And EMP name 2 and EMP email 3, it's a database column, the string type. But here, if you see, I have not given any length. If you're not providing any length, then by default, integer it will take 10 and string varchar it will take 255. It's a default. By default, Hibernate API is using this. By default. No, I don't want by default value. I want to use my value. That means I want length equal to 20 number and for all 20. LEN length. This one I want to make it 30 and this one I want to make it 30. Right? So if you want to do like, so the length that I have provided, I want to create the table based on, right? So let me check it's getting or not. Go to client, right click, run as run on Java application. And if you see the table created, the length that you have provided, based on that length only, it's created tables, right? Okay. Now another point here. So